Stan Gibilisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1GV, Whiskey 1 Good Vibrations. You've been asking for childhood stories. More please, so here's another one for you. It has to do with schematic diagrams that I was drawing before I was a radio ham. It was in 5th grade, I remember specifically, at Jefferson School, elementary school, in Rochester, Minnesota. My 5th grade class. That was about 1 year, well, exactly 1 year, before I got my novice class license. So I wasn't a radio ham, but I was very interested in electronics. I loved the Morse code even then. I thought it was fascinating, and I had a record to play on the phonograph, a 33 1/3 vinyl disc, a course named by a ham radio named Russ Farnsworth. The word method, he called it. And he instructed code at 13 words a minute. You know, back then you had to know the code to get a radio amateur license in the USA, even a novice class license. 5 words a minute. General class, technician class. Well, general class was 13 words a minute. Technician class was 5 words a minute. There was no advanced class license in 1965, but you could get an extra class license, but you had to go 20 words a minute. And the extra class license conveyed no additional privileges. General class licensees could get all amateur privileges, so there was no incentive to upgrade, although a few people did, just for personal reasons. Well, getting back to the story about 5th grade, I didn't understand much of the theory of ham radio or electronics. Back then I was interested in electronic devices, but I really had no clue how they worked. But I knew what schematic diagrams looked like. I didn't know how to interpret them though. So I sat there in class during our free hour one day. Our instructor named Evenson gave us a free hour just to study every day, and I, quote, studied, unquote, by drawing these schematic diagrams. But they weren't of any, they didn't have any meaning. All they were was electronic components, resistors, capacitors, tubes, vacuum tubes, inductors, that is coils, antennas, grounds, those sorts of things, just all connected together in a very complicated but meaningless jumble, I should say, jungle maybe. Jungle maybe is a better word. A jungle of components, meaning absolutely nothing. And Miss Evenson looked over my shoulder and said, "Wow, you know, you've really got some intelligence there. I don't have a clue what that means," she said. You're a genius." A genius faker I was at age, I believe it was in 5th grade, I would have been 11 years old. 5th grade, by the way, 1964 to 65. 1965 was the year the Minnesota Twins won the pennant, that is, the American League Championship. There were no divisions at that time, and played the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series, and lost in 7 games. Broke my little heart. Now that was in the fall of 1965. I would have been in 6th grade. 6th grade was the grade in which I did get my novice license and did begin to understand schematics. But I drew fake schematics, and my 5th grade teacher, who had no knowledge of electronics at all, I had practically none, she had none, thought I was a genius and told me so. Did that puff up the ego of a little 11-year-old kid or what? Oh well, did you ever do such a thing? I'll ask you, so I'll leave comments open. Have you ever done anything fake with electronics and tricked other people into thinking it was really something that had a function or a meaning? Of course not. Well, tell me so then. But I did. I was a faker. And still am, for all you know. Stangibilisco, saying 73, and so long, which, even at age 11, translated into da-da-da-da-da-da.